Let's be quick here. We said 3:15, so it's gonna be 3:15. Feel like a hot mess, but it's okay. Doesn't matter. So those who are watching the football game, keep watching. You could watch this video later. It's all good. I just wanted to be like a quick 30 minutes, give everybody an update. I'm at the coffee shop right now because I want to take a nap so bad, but we got stuff to do. We got work to do. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna first get some coffee and then I will walk and chit chat. I was gonna be too late. We'll chit chat what we got going on. So welcome to Stellanova for those in Edmond and OKC. So we can see the little surroundings that we have here. Order a coffee real quick and then we'll get started. So I'm gonna go walking outside with this today. Here we go. Hi. Can I do a small iced oat milk latte? Can I have a total of 3 ristretto shots and your sugar-free vanilla syrup? Coffee first.
Sugar-free vanilla, you said?
Yes, please. Coffee
You said
first.
oat milk?
Yes, please. You guys can check out.
Did you say switch hot?
Say it again?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, no. I'm on the phone.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're fine. Here we go.
All right. Awesome. 7:30 for you.
Perfect. Oh, let's try it again. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, guys, while we are waiting for the coffee, I'm going to grab my other headset, just grab some coffee, or order some coffee, I'd say. So, for those tuning in who have tuned in, all that good stuff, welcome. We're going to talk about the NBA life for a little bit. We already had our preseason. We already had our, let's see, we already had a preseason. We already had some home games. I think everybody can like look at the schedule and all that good stuff. So the point of this is actually to chit chat about like what the heck I do, just to encourage some people, students, PTs who want to get into sports physical therapy. When I say sports physical therapy, I'll talk about I can just talk about the pro level. Put this headset in. There we go. When it comes to the pro level, hope everybody can hear me. I really hope everybody can hear me at this point. Let me see. Yeah. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. So I'm a physical therapist and an athletic trainer. Oh, we can hear you. Thank you so much. I'm a physical therapist, athletic trainer. So what that means, I went and did my doctorate of physical therapy. I did athletic training, not a master's degree. At the time when I did athletic training, it was a bachelor's degree. So that's the route I did. Um, I will say I did not apply for many jobs. So, but I do want to say like what I currently do. So I work for an NBA team that I think a lot of people already know that I work for an NBA team. Medical wise, I do simple things to some. Some people may not think it's so simple, but let me sit until the coffee is ready. But some of the things I'll do could be simple as like taping ankles, bracing, stuff like that. But I do medical billing as well. So I didn't necessarily go to school for medical billing. But when I say medical billing, some places use insurance, some places don't. So I'll say in our end, We're not necessarily using like insurance per se. So like people go to the dentist, the doctor, stuff like that. I'll help with the medical billing, making sure that gets situated and gets to the right people for payment, et cetera, et cetera. I also do workers' comp claims, so I may like fill out a claim. So I think people know what workers' comp is. So because this is a job, so this is a lot of people's job. So being a professional athlete, this is your job. So God forbid you get hurt on the job, that's workers' comp. So I'll help with that, talk with adjusters, get things situated, paperwork, and all that good stuff. When it comes to physicals, so like say we have preseason physicals and the season physicals, God forbid someone gets hurt, anything like that, what you do in college or you do high school or any setting, I will be like the liaison for the most part to the physician, whether there's a team orthopedic physician, let's see, or a general medicine doctor. Sorry, I saw a little bug. Medicine doctor. I will help coordinate that, the timing and stuff like that. Even recommend like imaging. I would not say I do this all by myself. I have a medical director. I'm very grateful for our staff as well. Just letting you know of like some of the things that say um, a physician may do a physical, um, yeah, may do a physical, and I may go behind and just feel the joints, the joint play, or feel like how a muscle's moving, how, you know, palpating a tendon, et cetera, et cetera. I could do the same thing because remember, we're physical therapists as well, and we can get like an idea of like how the body parts moving, how they're feeling, stuff like that. So that's on the, I would say that side of things, doing physicals, all that good stuff. Then if we get into like the breakdown of the season, we get to the breakdown of the season. Let me see if my coffee's ready. We can talk a little bit about. I'm not sure if it's done. Maybe it's done. Um, when the season starts, then we have something called, or some people call off season. That's actually one of the busiest times of the year, and we have the pre-draft workouts. We have the combine, so the NBA combine. We have um, the summer league, which there's one in Utah, and then there's one, excuse me, there's one in Vegas. So I'm trying to think of what else. And obviously we have the preseason, then you have the um, regular season games. So breaking that part down, sorry, getting this together. Breaking that part down, we can get an idea of, you know, what each thing entails. So we walk outside, make this a little clear. As we said, 30 minutes means 30 minutes, so let's make it 30. Okay, so hopefully it's not too windy. If not, I might need to go in the car. Yeah, it's a little too windy. I wanted to get some steps in, but I do that later. I'll make sure everybody hears me. Okay, so let's break down when it comes to, let's see, we talked about pre-draft workouts, right? Pre-draft workouts, there we go. Pre-draft workouts, we have thinking about like players that declare for the draft, the NBA draft, just to make sure everybody's clear with that. So players declaring for the NBA draft, they can come from college, even some overseas, et cetera, et cetera. There's 30 teams in the NBA. You never know, it could be more coming up soon. We'll leave that out there. And these players will come to the NBA market wherever they go. I will work with like the scouts that we have, because every NBA team has scouts that search out players, following them even from like maybe high school or college, getting an idea of like how they are, who they are as a person as well, any injuries they may think could be going on with them, stuff like that. And so it's a little warm in here, sorry. And so they will say, hey, I think they'll be a good person to bring in, et cetera, et cetera. I may do some, not just me, so I'll say like I help lead that process on the medical side of things, but I'm not saying I'm the only person. So there could be, we have like another physical therapist on staff. For sure, that was like helping a lot, like a whole lot, like lifesaver. And we would like call like athletic trainers that say if they went to a certain school, like University of Georgia, because I went to Georgia, but University of Georgia, and we would call the athletic trainer, ask them some questions, hopefully get some insight, like medical information, like has he had any ankle sprains, da 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 da. A lot of times they may not reveal anything. If they do, we get some information just to follow up with the player if they do come and market. Just basic stuff. Like I'm not revealing um, anything that's like a violation to a person's personal stuff because I'm not revealing anything personally about anyone. Just to put that in their caveat. Um, so nobody has to worry about like me saying anything about like if I saw a certain player come through or I saw someone's cousin or something they playing for the draft or whatever. But we get some insight so we get an idea of like who could potentially be coming through the draft, who could be available. That's basically it for that. And then we do all the physicals. Physicals can include like an orthopedic physical, a general medical physical, like looking at do they have asthma? What is their family history? Do they have like a history of back pain? Simple stuff like that. And then the physical therapist, like myself and one other person, will go through like screenings that could be a movement screen. So I think I had another live that talks about like the SFMA, some of the things that we learned, FMS, some of the things that you can do. Y balance for sure is what we do. And then we'll bring the person in and do a battery of tests. Every place, like organization, has their own battery of tests they like to use. You know, if we want to use force plate data, getting like counter movement jumps, different stuff. I've seen people use, different stuff, different platforms, I should say. Like there's different platforms you can use for force plate. I know in college, some of the area that we did was even just like triple hop testing. Like we didn't use special equipment. We used like then we did use like the Air 420 thing of like Kaiser leg press, getting a power output, looking at the like a jumping mat to kind of see like someone's vertical max and stuff like that. We actually use the true, like if you ever went to the combine or see anything on pictures of the video at the combine, or even NFL combine, you see like players jump and touch like the sticks, like red, white, and blue, like those sticks, to get their highest jump and stuff like that. We do those things. So almost like a mini combine, which is kind of cool. So anybody's ever done pro day like at their university or seen any players do things, or you see on ESPN, because now it's actually, I mean, you can see that on TV. It's actually very similar. So we'll do that like for almost every player that comes through. So it's a really busy time. That could be from May, that leading into the combine, which the combine would be in like third week of May or something like that. Wow, these bugs are interesting. Third week of May, and then um, yeah, then we hit Chicago for the combine. In the past, I think we had like COVID and stuff, so didn't necessarily get the full the full thing of it. Full thing of it. Wow. We didn't get like the breeze stopped. We get the full effect of the combine the previous years, I would say, just because of COVID. So this May that just hit was like really good. So you get to the combine. We actually have the G League people. G League means like minor league, the Gatorade League. So those who are interested, I know some that I've talked to on social media have become G League or minor league NBA like athletic trainers for the NBA G League. So I think that is awesome. So that's a great way to start. I started that way. A lot of people start that way, become very successful, get their hands dirty, get a lot of exposure, get a lot of experience. Um, so I think that's like a um, good way. So they will actually do most of the majority of the combine stuff, to be quite honest. So they'll go over, they'll partner with like the strength conditioning coaches in the NBA and then the G League strength coaches as well, and they'll do like some of the combine testing. Hopefully, don't get too windy for you guys. Combine testing, and then for the G League athletic trainers, they'll cover like the events, right? So there could be a scrimmage that happens in Chicago, or there is a scrimmage. there's like scrimmages and stuff like that happens or games, they'll provide the medical coverage. So the NBA athletic trainers, physical therapists like myself, which would be mostly like athletic trainers, they don't necessarily have physical therapists out there, just to be quite honest. Yeah, they don't usually have athletic or physical therapists out there at the combine. But the athletic trainers now, we'll go ahead. Hopefully this doesn't get too windy. I don't want to be outside so bad. Um, the athletic trainers will then have meetings, and this is where we do what we call the NBATA, the National Basketball Athletic Training Association. I did videos on that, have some lives with that as well. We just talk about like different subject matters, whatever we can change and improve on. We all gather, we get to network, so you get to see other people because you don't always get to see everyone, especially the G League. G League, you're not going to see some people from the other conference because Eastern Western Conference. So it's like really good to get some of that insight or just to see people and new people, new faces, old faces, especially like no longer people wearing masks and stuff. So when that's happening, you may see some of the players, but I know towards the end of the combine that week, you're definitely going to be able to get to some physicals in. And I think that's where you get some like good insight on the players that are coming to the hospital at the very end of the combine. And basically, it's similar to what I said the pre-draft process was, where it's like you do a physical of them, you're coordinating with your own team physicians, which is nice, and then you can go back in if you have time. You already got history on them, just clarifying some stuff. And you just check body parts. It's just like a simple eval. Like it's quick and dirty. So I would say almost like as an athlete, turn quick and dirty. So as physical therapists, I know when you're in school and even when you get into the clinic, you're not necessarily not always doing quick and dirty evals. But I would encourage you guys to practice that because I think that would be very useful. So say if you ever became a first responder, ever got into the NBA in this hustle and bustle, like you can actually see like some people call them like on-field assessments, even though you won't be on the field covering, but it's similar to where you're just checking body parts, trying to get an idea of like how the person moves, checking joint play, active passive range of motion, main muscle testing if that is something you want to do, or if you think functional testing for you, whatever that is, SFMA, FMS, or just like muscle activation if you believe in that stuff. Some of the things that you can do, so I think that was like good insight. So then at this point, then coming back from the combine, the NBA draft is underway. So at that point, you drafted everything like 100 and something players, even though everybody can get drafted, obviously. You have that written down. You're coordinating with your other staff member, physical therapist. We write this all down, everything we got intel on. And you're just presenting that to medical director, who then gets it to the general manager, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really about it. Your work is done. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is something you would do even if you're in the college setting. So understanding, like, say if there's scouts for colleges, right? So say if you went to the University of Georgia, anywhere, Arkansas, anything, and they're thinking about a basketball player that they want to recruit, it's like the same process. It may just not be, well, yeah, I mean, it might be the same amount of work or even more, where it's like the scouts do this X, Y, and Z, and then the person who's dealing with medical, they get some intel, get some insight, like what kind of injuries, or they may go to some of their games, is what some of the scouts do, give you that information, so you keep that communication open and getting some insight on like, okay, would this be a risk for us? Is this something we like? Is this someone we want to bring on our team? Say if it was like UGA or just any college. Actually, it's like this. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the draft. Because then your work is done. Obviously, draft hits. Then you find out what player or players you have, your caseload, and you just reassess again. It's just like physical therapy where you assess, reassess, test, retest. So then you get them in, do the same thing, just trying to make sure, because remember, they have draft workouts. You just want to make sure everybody's good, um, and you want to make sure you know the person, know that client, because you saw so many through that draft process. You just want to make sure you know everybody, get to know them, make sure, because you want to make sure you're personable, but you want to make sure you remember them, right? Because now then they may be on your caseload, they may be, or I mean, they're obviously going to be on your team. So, trying to think now, once we got past that, we're getting closer to then summer. So summer hits, I would have other people on my caseload that may not stay in town. So, go visit them, see how they're doing. They're most likely set up with like some other team. When I say team, let me be careful. Not team like um, not like another organization. I would say like they'll be set up with like, you know, there could be a ATI, like there's physical therapy clinics, right? Just other places. So you just want to make sure the person is set up well, right? So you just want to, if they're doing treatment or it's just maintenance work, everything is set up well, and they feel like they're getting the service they want and that they need. So that's really about it on that side when it comes to just like visiting. So sometimes I may go out of town. Um, yeah, most of the time. There was a couple out of the country ones or out of the US. I didn't go, had other stuff going on. But you just wanna just if you're just making sure like there's no um what's the word I'm looking for? Surprises. So you just make sure that, and also that the client knows that you care about them. So now we're getting closer into like training camp ish time. So this is like August, September, right? So September will be like training camp, and you have like requirements. The actual NBA has requirements that you need to do. So that could be cardiac testing. So setting that stuff up, like I said, was the liaison to do like physicals and stuff like that. Same thing. I'm not saying I'm doing this all by myself, but it's just to ensure like I'm using the guidance of like my medical director and some other team members as well. And we set up like cardiac testing because that's required by the NBA, and I mean in other like organizations as well, or like entities, I should say. Then we have physicals again, so preseason physicals. We have it could be imaging involved, just depending on the case. It's always case by case scenario for the imaging, blood labs, like just simple stuff. And then of course, like our organization has like their own thing. So obviously, I won't reveal like details on like the specifics on like other things we like to test for, just to optimize people and see like what are things we can improve on as we're going into the training camp. Training camp for most places, like the NFL, just like any place, is gonna be like a grind for staff and players. So I would say like whatever we can do to just ensure like everybody is well, transitioning well, whether they're a rookie or a returning player. Like we're just here to serve. At the end of the day, here to serve. So I'm trying to think of anything else. So yeah, training camp happens. That's when we get to know like a lot more. After we done like all the onboarding stuff, right? Like I already said, the physicals and stuff. Then we get to get a lot more of like the tendencies or the preferences that people have. There's like taping, et cetera, bracing, or you see people with arm sleeves. You may see some people with leg sleeves or padding and stuff like that. So we coordinate those things. Then we have an athletic trainer staff who is really good at that. And so I think the biggest thing to know is, what does your organization have? So then everyone is doing complementing each other's role. You're not trying to take anyone's role. You're not trying to take over anybody's role, and you want to just complement one another. So for example, yeah, I'm a physical therapist and athletic trainer. We have a physical therapist on staff, and we have an athletic trainer on staff. But it doesn't mean I'm trying to do their jobs and then saying we're not doing mine, but not saying we couldn't. So God forbid if someone had to step away, or say if you're tied up, that other person could step in while you're working on a client. They can help you with some other stuff as well. So that's what I would say teamwork is, and I think that's like really important wherever you go, whatever team you guys are interested in going to, whether it's even MLS and NFL, like knowing your staff, knowing the people on your staff. How I think what I'm trying to learn is like what makes them tick. I know like Kobe talked about that a lot. Like what makes your teammate, and in this case my staff teammate, tick. So it's like, yeah, they have this training background. It's like, okay, it's not always about degrees. It's not about like, oh well, his degree is this, so he can't do X, Y, and Z. That's not always the case. So understanding your team, what their roles are, I think is important, so then you can do your job well. They can help you do your job well, and you can help them do their job well. So then you guys are like more of a collective unit. because every organization is different. So I'm talking about like this, but I know there's other places that I've spoken to people on their staff. They're set up completely different. So just want to let people know, like, do the best you can and know what you bring to the table is going to be the biggest thing. Understanding you're not going to know everything, and actually that's okay. You don't have to know everything. I'm still learning. There's some stuff that as a staff we're learning, that I'm like really excited about. Like we're actually trying to. This was what is this? Let me wash my hair. That we're learning as a staff. Okay, I'm getting distracted. That we're learning as a staff that I think is going to help people go along further. That you didn't have to be a performance scientist to have learned this stuff, but you understand, like, okay, the way things are going now with technology, with load management, with how how players are resting, or you may see that, or you may say, oh, they have this and that going on, or you're seeing some like overuse injuries, right? So not just hamstrings, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. Like some people with like base of the fifth um, fractures, like those fractures, those Jones fractures, or anything you could think of is possible. So especially those who are like maybe, especially those who've had like a busy pre-draft workout schedule where they've worked out for every single team, or they had it in a short period of time, because the pre-draft time is actually a short window. So if you can think about your acute to chronic load, if they were playing college basketball, for example, and they had March Madness, whether they went far, whether they didn't, that's like February, March, around that time. And then May, because most likely they're still working out, right? So then May hits, they're doing a whole bunch of workouts before and after the combine. And then if they go to the combine and then do some more stuff, then June hits, you got the draft. Right after the draft, you're going right into like a summer league training camp, which is actually exactly what I forgot to talk about. Summer league. That's so embarrassing. Because it kind of meshes together sometimes. But so some of these, like, you can have like overuse injury. So keeping your eye on that, I think like that's key. So knowing your staff in that sense. But now I have to reverse and talk about summer league. So NBA summer league, there is the one in Vegas, and then Utah has theirs obviously in Utah, Salt Lake City. So I actually head that up as well. But I'm not saying I'm doing this by myself. I'm just saying more of like, I would say more of like communicating well with the scouts slash higher ups that say which players are coming, which players are going to participate, X, Y, and Z. So in that sense, like medically, still dealing with the same process like I talked about for the draft and for the upcoming training camp and season, where it's just like, okay, physicals, any underlying things. Do you have asthma? Like this, that, and the third. Getting, trying to think. Oh, and then making sure cardiac testing is done. So that's like in a weird window with summer league. So sometimes they could be coming from a previous team. You need to get access to their files to be able to see, did they do cardiac testing? Like those things, making sure that's underway. I have a great medical director who can kind of help me along the way, but that's my job to head that stuff up. So now, skipping forward, we already talked about the pre-draft process. We talked about the combine. We talked about summer league just now, because then there was Utah, and then NBA summer league in Vegas. Then we talked about like heading into like training camp for the actual preseason. And the training camp is nothing new. Like I was saying, it was just like the cardiac testing, blood labs, and then I said that's when I was talking about we do our own like set of testing just to make sure we're checking everything, just whatever we can do to optimize that player to the next level and making sure they're like ready for the season, whatever can help them be the best they could be. No matter if they're a returning player or they're a rookie, like we do our best to make sure we meet them where they are and just like push them forward. Yeah, so at that point, training camp's done. Now we're in the preseason. Preseason hits. We may, and I think other teams like this too, because I've talked to other people where it's like we may have players on the team that may end up going to the G League, which again we said minor league or the Gatorade League. And so keeping contact with whoever that G League medical staff person is, sorry, it's getting a little windy, is really important to make sure like continuity of care. So, you know, and because as soon as our training camp preseason ends, everybody branches off who needs to branch off to the G League, and making sure that that G League medical staff, and remember, I should have said there's a strength coach as well that goes with the G League as well, ensuring that they're on the same page, they understand what's going on when we were here with the parent team, doing preseason games, preseason practices, because the G League then will start their training camp. So, and obviously that is all common knowledge. I'm not revealing anything I'm not supposed to reveal because that's on Google. So I'm not like spilling any beans or anything. Nothing, no tea on that. Um, yeah, so once that hits and say like the G League branches off, it doesn't mean they're on an island. It's important that we keep in contact. So I keep in contact with the medical there because you want to make sure there's a very open communication, because there's things called like assignment players, which then assignment players are done like I would say parent teams, because there's 30 teams again in the NBA. So like the parent team may send one of their players to the G League and they call them an assignment player. And then there are players, which are two players on the team, called two-way players, which means they go two ways. Two ways meaning G League or the parent NBA team. So with that being said, keeping that communication open from me on the medical, and there's other medical staff that I already told you on the NBA, right? And making sure that they know what's going on with the player when they send them down to the G League, and then vice versa. So say when the player comes back up, like returning to their parent team. So um, keeping that information flowing, which is important because so much can change in a matter of like a practice or a game. So nothing is like by surprise, which is great because you keep the communication open and the team is just working really well. So you have EMR. Our EMR is nothing like like the NBA EMR is nothing like um, I would say like working in a clinic and stuff in a hospital, because I worked in a clinic, a hospital, did a little home health, did other college or whatever stuff. It's not the same. So it's not like we're worried about insurance, so we have to fill out this ICD-10 and this, that, and third. So it's truly like what happened, what's going on, what do you plan on doing, what are some of the tests you did, what are the battery tests, what are some scientific measures, measurements, objective findings, stuff like that. Just to the point. There's some things that we had to do, and then I will place things on the calendar. Say like we had a practice or something, put that in the calendar. That's what I'm responsible for. Make sure everything flows and know who participates, who doesn't participate, all that good stuff. So yeah, at that point, we get all that situated. The season has officially started. When the season has officially started, it should be very similar to what the preseason was like, except for now the G League has branched off. Like the players who were here that were going to be G League branched off to the G League. So trying to think of anything else. Yeah, and then at that point we do a lot of travel. I travel with the team. So we were in Dallas last night. Again, that's common knowledge. Not saying anything inappropriate because that's on Google. We were in Dallas. Definitely in Dallas. When we get there, let me see. I do treatment. So say if like I have players in my caseload, if they need treatment, I do treatment with them. If they want to do massage therapy with a massage therapist, that's already set up for them. We have strength coaches as well, very knowledgeable strength coaches. Whatever things that need to be done on an activation standpoint will be done. So I will say what is different though, me working in college, working travel therapy as well, versus here, the team, like every team and organization is different. So I'll say like my role here, I have a lot of, when I say administrative, like clerical stuff, a lot of that. And then the treatment, I would say, is a lot of like manual therapy, but it is some like when I say activation, there is some like muscle program, like motor programming, stuff like that. But I would say a lot of that gets um, efficiently done in the weight room with the strength coaches. So I would say that's something that was very different with me coming here. I know some places are not like that, where it's like, hey, if you're gonna do this, you do this. So I think it's been good to know your role, but then also understanding like as you grow. Sorry, it's getting windy again. As you grow in the organization or grow in your role, whatever it is, um, it's not saying it can't be done by you as a medical staff. So, say for example, like doing bird dogs or doing like bridges, stuff that you're just making sure. Which I agree. Like everyone's speaking the same language. So if the player goes sees a strength coach and then they go and see the physical therapist, athletic trainer, they're not saying two different cues. Unless the player is just not getting it with the cue in general. But then you're keeping that communication open, making sure the player is getting the best they can get. Not like possessive over a play, like, oh, that's my player. Like, he's a star. Like, so I claim him, whatever, whatever. It's like, if you're better and you have the time to do this activation, this movement with them, et cetera, go ahead and do that. But I will say my role is not to do a like an actual training program. So that's something I do want to be aware of. And I'm not gonna say that's like every single place, but a lot in the NBA, they have strength coaches and they have medical staff. Strength coaches will usually do the training program of this is our mesocycle, this is our macro cycle. If you look at preseason, um, during the season, off season, all that good stuff. And here are mesocycles, and how we're going to have the program set up and how we want to do ramp up and how we want to do a little bit less of volume when the season starts and more frequency and higher, maybe higher lows in certain parts of the day, whether it's a practice or after a game. We won't, as medical, do that. So, for the most part, there are some places that there are hybrids, meaning like they could do medical and performance. And I think that's great if you can and your organization allows that. But just got to know what your role is, what you want to do, what you bring to the table. Also, too, and understanding me being here, there was a lot of roles that I had initially or I used to do, or whether it's college or in my fellowship or travel therapy, I'm trying to think what else, covering even athletic training, stuff like that, because I was still a physical therapist, like doing some of those things that I'm not, I, I'm in a team setting, right? So that doesn't mean, oh, I could do that and that. It doesn't mean I have to do it. So learning that as well, encourage anybody get all what you're getting to learn and grow so you don't like corner yourself to not be able to do multiple things. But understand when you go for a team and there's more than one person on the team, which you need more than one person, because I feel like if you try to do everything, that means something's going to suffer. You're spreading yourself out too thin. But understand like you may be like, oh, I really know how to do this, this, and this, but understanding like if the team needs something else from you that you're also good at, you may have to give up that other skill. Not saying you don't have to practice it or work on it, but understanding maybe for the team, for the organization, you may not be able to use it. So I'm speaking that firsthand. Excuse me. I have countless examples, and I know other people do around the league. So something I just want to encourage people like you working in a clinic, an outpatient clinic, you may do way more than I would say me right now working in this setting where it's like, yeah, I'm saving ankles. Yeah, I could be manipulating someone. When I say like a manipulation, spinal manipulation, stuff like that. Could be dry needling someone. Those things. I'm trying to think of anything else. Simple stretching or activation, muscle energy techniques or mobilization with movement. Like all those things, more of I think is like a manual therapy base. Yes, I can still go in the weight room and do other things, but understanding like that's not what they need from me. So making sure then I am being a team player, I would encourage people for that. Because where before I came here, I was doing still some stuff in the weight room or some movement or some type of like weighted activities. Not saying I can't do it now, but if someone's a lot more efficient to do so that I can see another player, then just learning how to hand that off. So that's what I'll say on the medical side. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm definitely over 30 minutes, so I want to keep this nice and short. I know a lot of people are watching NFL games right now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you talk about my role. Oh, I didn't even talk about games. Wow. Okay, so yes, I travel with the team. Um, I usually carry the AED. I have like this huge book bag. I obviously put it back in the building, so I can't show you guys right now. I have a huge AED book bag that has an AED, literally a defibrillator or defibrillation, a defibrillator, automatic AED, and what else? I have like first aid equipment in there. I'll have like glucose monitor, pulse ox, stuff like that. I think maybe that might be good for another video to talk about what that stuff is, what I have in there. Obviously, AED is very expensive, so I don't advise anybody to go buy an AED if you're doing any type of outreach. If you're doing outreach, like any athletic trainers out there, or physical therapists who want to be a first responder, I can talk about that like in another video. We can talk about other supplies and stuff. If y'all are interested, like let me know in the comments below. Even those who are coming back to watch this video, let me know if you got to this far in the video at this point. And yeah, I have that, and I have a sideline kit. So we travel, we hit the plane, we got some stuff under the plane, but the AED comes with me. So God forbid we have any staff member, any player that needs anything, like we on deck, like we have everything we need because I'm responsible for that. That's my job. I'm like the person has an AED and God forbid know how to use it. And the great thing is I advise other people, if you're working in high schools or whatever, practice that stuff every year. We're supposed to be practicing as athletic trainers. If you're a physical therapist, you can work in clinic, guys develop that EAP, emergency action plan. You be a first responder. Usually we're all first aid, CPR, and first aid trained. So practice that stuff. So that's my role. I'll head that up. God forbid if anything went down. So I have that with me. Say we're on the plane, we're flying. By the time we arrive, do any treatment. Then any players need treatment. I said that already. Then we get into the next day, which is game day. Game day. Say if like my medical director's not there, I'll be in that position where it's like keeping communication, obviously with the strength coaches, making sure we know what's going on with players, who's available, who's not, communicating with the head coach. Simple stuff that you do in college, same stuff you do in college. So there's nothing new on that end. Some organizations do shoot arounds, some do optional shooting, some do nothing. Some have team meetings, so it just depends on like where you work. It's getting windy again. So yeah, just help cover that, or just coordinate it with the physical therapist slash other athletic trainer on staff covering that. And that's where we just go to the arena and we get some shots up or whatever the case may be. If you guys do shoot arounds, that's everybody's different on that end. So don't be surprised you go to NBA team and they do shoot arounds and some that don't. So then there is, after the team meeting, you may treat a player again. Like it just depends on what's needed, what you have going on. And depends who you have your caseload. So my caseload, I will not say the players I have my caseload. I will not say any player's name on here. So I'm sorry for those who are wanting to know slash wanting me to say something like that. I won't. I'll just say the players I have in my caseload, I need to make sure they stay ready, just like anybody else would. So besides treatment, there's going to be a gap in time. You may have some free time where it's like you may have a staff meeting. This might be around like 11:30, 12. You might be leaving for the arena probably around 4, usually if it's like a 7 o'clock game. So there could be a staff meeting, there could be other meetings you have to do, and there's a lot also paperwork to do. So I told you I do workers' comp stuff, I do insurance stuff, I do medical billing stuff, like coordinate that between our department, like our like player medical department with the exec office, or like I will coordinate, for example, there could be bills coming from the dentist or from the eye doctor, like stuff like that. I handle all that billing. So that's what I'm doing a lot of times. I would like to get a workout in. Sometimes I get that in, sometimes I don't. But taking that time and making the most of it, because if you have a staff meeting, trying to coordinate that stuff, you have to treat a player and understanding like you have to leave the hotel to get to the arena. And once you get to the arena, you got to set up that training room as quickly as you can. Usually the training rooms are pretty set up well, where it's like the game day help. They're basically like they're usually like teenagers or like college students that come by, check if we need anything like towels and just basic stuff like that. So at that point, we're setting up the training room. I don't do that part by myself, so putting that out there. Set up the training room, making sure the tables are there, or if they provide tables for us, so that's nice. And then every person has like a schedule. The schedule will be like, hey, this is your treatment time. This is your pre-game court work time. This is your activation time. Activation usually will be with the strength coach, because again, it's a lot more efficient that way. You shouldn't try to do everything if you're part of a team. You want to be a team player. So making sure everybody's set up well. And then that's when I have almost, or I say by now, of course, I have everyone's routine. Some people are superstitious. They like stuff done a certain way, or a lot of people do in general, but athletics, it doesn't even matter basketball. Athletics. So people like stuff a certain way. Some of them are like real cool and chill about like, oh, what do you see? What do you feel? Do whatever you feel and see kind of thing. So if you let me work, I do it. And also too, some I still keep with the routine, but there's something that pops up and that feels a little off to me because I get to know their body so well, and that's I will say anyone in the setting, if you're good at your job with communication, all the good stuff, and being a good person, but then knowing a player's body very well. Same, you do that in college, even in high school. If you worked in that high school for a while, you get the same players, whether it's on the basketball team, whatever, college. Um, as an athletic trainer, and I would encourage physical therapists, I know some are doing really well at this, know that player so well that you know, like when you feel that ankle, that right ankle, that hind foot feels a little different, or that subtalar joint moving a little differently, like et cetera, like the tissue tone. That's how like detailed we have to be because we see them every day. We need to know the difference, and that's what's the difference when you work in a clinic versus on the team. I see these people multiple times a day or every day, so I could tell like, oh, the neck is moving a little different today versus like when I'm moving your shoulder and this, and this, or your ankle and this, that, and the third. Once I get an idea of that, just because like I see really well with my hands. Yes, these are my nails. See very well with my hands. That's what I like to do. That's what I like to use. So whether it's me taping, I may need to add a little tape here or there. Whether it's like me needing to mobilize the ankle a little bit more, do that. Whether I'm like, yo, I think you need this type of manip. Um, that type of stuff gets done. And that's why I'm practicing manipulation because I feel like you need to always practice it and learn. So I do that on I do that as best I can. I have some great people outside of work I can practice with, so shout out to them. I get to practice with, so that's been like really awesome, very appreciative, and that is making the time to be better. So I would say that make the time to be better because shoot, be tired after games or practices, but you practicing it makes a huge difference. So then taping ankles, they have their team meeting, then obviously the game's about to start tip, right? So we have tip off. With tip off, by that time I'm sitting down. Um, it's not about. I'm gonna say it anyway. It is what it is. So if you ever watch any game, ever watch us play, I do sit on the front bench. I sit on the front bench because I need to see what's going on. I got like God forbid I need to see if I need to get onto the court. God forbid if somebody falls, someone hits their head. I do concussion assessments. I'm the one on staff that will do the concussion assessment. Just make sure everything's good. Obviously, we use physicians, so I'm not trying to say I bypass anyone. But if anybody falls, if there's a sprained ankle, if there's someone who cannot get off the floor, those things. I talked with the paramedics and the paramedics, EMTs that are there, making sure they know we're speaking the same language. So I need to make another video about that, about like emergency response. So like using the fist in the air. Some places they don't even use a fist. Some places like to use like their arms across their chest kind of thing. Um, just different stuff like knowing and speaking the same language. So I sit in the front bench, the first seat, just so I could see. That's be quite honest. I'm then responsible for like mouthpieces. Some people like mouthpieces. If anybody has, also a lot of people have hair, longer hair, not shortcut. So I have like hair supplies. Yes, I have hair supplies because if you watched any of these like ESPN or any of these things, there's been some stuff that come out where there's been like delay of game or had to have a whole timeout because somebody's like hair tie broke. The athletic trainer didn't have a hair tie, and basically it was like an issue with them trying to make sure they could play. So I have hair ties, contact lenses. I have albuterol. God forbid if someone actually needed it. If someone was an inhaler, if someone was asthmatic or stuff like that. Different things, like different things that people are like, oh, they like Blistex, I like this and that. I keep up with those supplies. I have a silent kit, I have a towel just in case, because sometimes people fall and spill. Players are diving for the ball. I've gotten, I think it's been at least twice now. I've been hit by a player. I've dodged some basketballs, but like a player trying to, I guess, block a shot or trying to close out on defense on the shooter, I should say, close out. And they kept running and they didn't stop. And yes, my makeup was all over the jersey. So those things, but I get to see what really happens. Make sure if I need to check in with the player halftime or have that other staff member check in, all that stuff. trying to think of anything else that I could think of. So that's during the game. After the game, obviously, if there's control damage or things we need to do, is there any treatments we need to do, communications open, whatever we need to tell the strength coaches if they may have a lift after, make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody's good. So I think that's what I covered. That's kind of what I do in a nutshell. There's a lot more that I'm probably going to think of later, but that's the basic stuff. Yeah. So, that's 50 minutes. So that's definitely not 30 minutes, like I said. So appreciate y'all. Those who are still here. Those of you who are still here on this call. Share this video at this point and just trying to like help somebody along the way, because again, I won't be here forever. So I think like whoever this can help, like I just want to like share this with people who always want to be in the setting. Understand like there's it's a huge time commitment. It's way more than you say, oh, I'm gonna do athletic training, master's degree and do my rotations and do my, like it's a lot. It's like time consuming and stuff, but I think it's good. And in the day, like, so when we have off days, we had stuff earlier today, so it wasn't an off day, but I have the rest of the day today, catch up on stuff with work, check in with you guys, say hi, try to really like plug in and help some students out there. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. And thank you for staying this whole time. Oh my gosh. But share this video. I really want to help some people out there because I know a lot of people don't share things. I will never reveal anything that's inappropriate or details or make something like a competitiveness for another team. So don't worry, you don't have any HIPAA violations here. But thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate it, and I appreciate y'all. And look out for more videos. Hopefully, talk about like my path to get here will be one video. Obviously, we need to talk about first aid, first responder stuff. Talk about like if you are a student, what can you do to get here? Internship opportunities. Yes, I need to talk a little bit about that as well, because our internship process here has changed. I did put a post on my Instagram and my Twitter on like now the new requirements. It was like a page, like a post a while ago when they did it. So it's no longer like, hey, I know Vanessa, can I get in? Unfortunately, it used to work, but now it's not the same. So there's like a little bit of like a certification like / license requirements, like I think you already need, like I have possessed one of those and I put that on there. So check out my Instagram / Twitter. It might be easier on Instagram. Like you'll just see it's like literally a white page with like a whole bunch of like roles and duties. It has like an emblem of the team up top. Just trying to share that news for those who are interested in internships. But I will say as a preview, there is an internship coming up. It's just not final yet, so I can't speak on too many details until it's like final, because I don't want to bring people's hopes up. But we're gonna try to get some, hopefully, for those who want to help out with not necessarily during the season, but like say you have things like the combine, because I talked about the combine, the NBA combine happens in Chicago, and then we have the NBA Summer League, which is in Vegas. I will let you guys know for the one in Vegas, there's people that just show up and just say, hey, can I help? And I will put that out there until things maybe get finalized or whatever. I would just suggest you guys to do that. So that would be July, usually the third week of July, maybe like 11th through the 18th or like something like that. Like, I don't know what the dates are for 2023, but I would say look out for that. There's people that I know who just showed up and helped out randomly, and some of them are with G League teams right now. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, they would all these bugs. Ugh. Obviously, be on the lookout. They probably would look for athletic trainers, so please be aware of that. But not saying if you're a physical therapist that you can't do that. And also, if you're a student, like undergrad or something, don't not show up, if that makes sense, because developing that relationship will help, because then they can give you guidance on like what you need to do next steps to hopefully be in this position. So I need people to surpass me. I need y'all to keep pushing forward. And I hope this helps some people even after I'm out of the NBA. Hopefully I can kind of like push people along. We need to get a lot more people in here. Need some people to replace me. I need everybody to go far. So spread this, and I'll catch y'all next time. It's about to hit an hour, and I'm like, yo, this is so much time. And I appreciate y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And that's it. Bye.